This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Hey everyone, welcome to this week's pod. Happy July 4th, everybody out there. This week's show, we're going to discuss Tiana's Bayou Adventures related updates, and hopefully we don't get too deep on some of those updates like the internet is doing right now. More signs of slow crowds and shifting guest behavior, our takes on planning advice and questions we get, and our top 3 souvenirs we don't buy, but we think are cool. And this is probably going to end up making me buy one now because I've thought about it too much, but we'll see. So we'll check those out later in the show. But as usual, Phil, we're going to find out what everybody else is talking about in our Disney World. And there's a theme of this show, and it's just going to run throughout. It's just going to be different aspects of it. So what are people talking about?
Yeah, so first, obviously, everyone's been waiting with bated breath to find out how my ADR booking day went.
Yes.
Since we talked about it last week. I think we'll get into it in details in a future episode when we're closer to the trip. But for people that have kind of bookings coming up, I thought I'd let everyone know that it went very smoothly. There seemed to be lots of availability, especially if you're staying on site and you get the 60 plus 10. The only thing that was kind of tough was I wanted Storybook Dining on my arrival date, and I didn't get the exact time I wanted, but I still got one. So other than that, everything was wide open. So I think, especially if you're looking at things, 60 plus days, you should be fine. So
I went in and kind of I was probably 5 or 6 hours after you did your ADRs. Yeah. And I was like, what if I was just a person that just said, oh, I didn't want to wake up. I just wanted to start getting them. I almost got almost all of your ADRs. I mean, the timing wasn't great on some of them, but they were available still like at 2:00 in the afternoon for your dates. So I think that's one element. I mean, we're talking about crowds and we have some more updates about that. And I think that, just the more popular ones, you just can't get the times now. Whereas maybe 8 months ago, 6 months ago, you couldn't get them those days.
Oh yeah. I mean, people were telling me because they knew I wanted Storybook Dining for my opening day, like, oh, maybe you should do one of those like ghost reservations like we've done in the past and that sort of thing. And I was like, I didn't want to necessarily bother with that. And I had been checking and it seemed like stuff was available. And yeah, like I said, unless you're really trying to get, maybe that Rhino tour, something really hard or a very specific time, you really don't have to worry about it because crowds seem to be light, which leads into our first topic. More signs of crowds being light, and also I put in the intro kind of shifting crowd behavior. First one is that Disney has announced the first time I think they're back since before the pandemic is bounce back offers are coming back starting on July 5th. And for those of you who don't know what a bounce back offer is, it's offered to guests while they're at Walt Disney World. They'll get
or 10 days after, I think.
Yeah, so it's basically you'll be notified while you're there. I think they said you'll get an email if you're beginning July 5th, but then starting on July 7th, it'll be on your the TV in the room. You'll get a piece of paper and basically saying here's a code, and you can book a trip for next year. So these are for 2024 trips. So you're bouncing back the next year at a discounted rate, and you have to book it within 7 days of your checkout date.
So here's a big I was going to say big hint. It's definitely not a hint. Our COVID canceled trip was a bounce back offer. And that was one of the last ones that they did. That was we went in the summer of 2019, and it was for February, March time frame. We did some shifting around on it and stuff like that. Some other deals came out, but it was for February, March of 2020.
Yeah. So they have dates that are throughout the year next year. Some of the key like spring breaks and Thanksgiving week and stuff like that are excluded, but it's, pretty much throughout the year. And basically it's pretty simple. 25% on value resorts, 30% on moderates, and 35% on Disney Deluxe or Deluxe Villas. But obviously the key thing here is you have to do it kind of right away. It's almost like an impulse purchase type thing. But just another sign that they're trying to get people to come back. And I guess that's good. It's almost a sign maybe they're not as focused on just getting those once in a lifetime people. They are trying to bring back the regulars, but we'll see if it's enough.
Yeah, I mean, to your point of getting back the regulars, I mean, I was thinking about this throughout the week, talking about it on forums with my family, and and on Discord, it's basically the premise, I think, is what's happening with these, as you call them, shifting behaviors of guests, is that, you know, nothing's changing with the behavior of first time guests. Walt Disney World still has that allure of a once in a lifetime trip. Like, everybody has to go to Disney World at least once. Like, you check that off your list for a lot of people, that type of thing. And if you've never been, the magic is absolutely amazing, and you have the fun and everything else like that. And, you know, once in a lifetime allows you to spend extra on certain things, because it's like, I'm never coming back. This is going to be great. I don't mind spending an extra $100 because, you know, this is our big trip type of thing.
Yeah.
I think where Disney's losing, or has been losing for a while, but I think it's accelerating, is the second, third, fourth, and fifth time guests, or the annual guests, or whatever. Because, you know, we've been talking about nickel and diming for years. We've been talking about how expensive it's getting, and I think people are realizing the value's not there anymore, especially with all the different things taken away. So on one of the message boards, I did some math real quick. And if you just take rack rate and price of tickets for this time back in 2008, a family of four could stay at Walt Disney World for about $3,200 for 6 nights with 4 days in the parks.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward, adjusted everything that's adjusted for inflation. That's $2023. And same time of year, if you were booking a trip now, it's almost $4,300. So like $1,100 more expensive.
Yeah,
that's not taking into account that now you have to pay for transportation to the resort. You don't food and merch costs, Genie Plus, Lightning Lane, parking fees. I mean, the lists go on and on. That's taking none of that into account. It's literally your hotel stay and your tickets is $1,200 more, adjusted for inflation, than it was 15 years ago. And I think what people are, the reason why I bring this up, because I think people that are going for their second, third, and fourth time are realizing, what am I getting for that extra $1,200?
Yeah.
There's a 30 to 40% increase on cost. What are you getting for it? And you could make the argument that you've got Toy Story Land, you got Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, you've got the Skyliner, you got New Fantasyland, all the updates for the last 15 years. We did that a couple months ago on a show. But all theme parks or all attractions need to be adding new things to keep people coming back. And Disney has been taking things away. Yeah,
no, I fully agree with that. I think the people that were the regulars, they were getting their packages, and it wasn't cheap, but you kind of knew what you were spending. You got, like you said, Magical Express was included. Your Magic Band was included. Lots of times people would work up the free dining or something, like you could make it work where enough was included. You were feeling like you were getting value. And there was always like new big things coming. And I think that's the one thing I feel like when I'm on all these message boards and stuff like that, somehow Disney has to make it so people are excited about planning a trip to Disney again. It seems like now people are just focused on what's not there or that used to be versus what's the new stuff. And there just isn't enough new stuff.
And we're going to see that with the theme of this show. Yeah. It's offers and what gets you excited type of thing. And I used to go on any number of message boards, whether the Diz boards or DVD Magic forums or Discord or Reddit or wherever it is. And the vast majority of interactions with people are, I'm planning my trip, give me some advice. What about this? People are tracking times and min-maxing like how they can spend their days at the parks. And everybody's joyously coming together to celebrate Disney.
Yeah.
You don't see that at all anymore anywhere. It's basically, here are some updates and people being a curmudgeon about them. Or there's just no one talking about anything. No one's asking about strategies about how to do parks anymore. And I think what we're seeing here with these bounce back offers and everything else that we're talking about is there's a thinning of the herd going to Disney World. And we're seeing that, right? People are still spending money for vacations, right? They're just not spending Disney money anymore. And we're seeing that.
The one thing I did want to mention is that I do think there is still that desire, like people want to be excited. They want to find things. So, and that's kind of what I was kind of getting at with some of the changing guest behavior, where it's sort of that baseline trip that isn't feeling like it's worth it. But, we saw they announced July 4th tomorrow is sold out for all types of passes at Magic Kingdom because they're having the special fireworks, they're having the flyover. And one other news item was the first Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party sold out, the one for Halloween Day. And this is basic, last year it sold out on July 1st. This year it sold out on July 3rd. So it's basically the same. Like, people still like these special things. They like these unique experiences you can get, and they're willing to pay for them. It just feels like that kind of baseline trip is just not being as valued as much as it used to be.
Oh, 100%. And I think we can spend a show on what you got for that baseline trip, comparing it 15 years ago to today. And what all you have to do for all the fans out there that are now hooked, right? They're Disney families. Like, this is not like people are going for their second trip, but their third and fourth, right? You offer them just something new, something to get excited about, and everybody's going to come back. Like, if Disney were to do something really great, and this is going to be our engagement question for this week. We're going to talk about it later, but I think all those people come storming back, and all is forgiven at that point. But anyway, what else is?
So the one thing that people are talking about that is new, some positive, some negative about it, but we know there's continued work on Tiana's Bayou Adventure. We saw the water tower was installed, and we've had some cast members or other people that have been in the park reporting that it looks really good in person and stuff like that. So, again, it kind of goes on. If you're buying the storyline, if you're excited for the change, then this is exciting. It's another milestone. It certainly seems like they're moving quickly on this change. Mm-hmm. If you're not happy about the change, you're finding every little fault about it, but it is what it is. And then the other new thing is they premiered a new costume for Tiana that is fitting with the Bayou Adventure. It probably ties into her Disney Plus series that's coming too, but basically looks like more of a lot of people are referring. She almost looks like she's in the Society of Explorers and Adventurers or something like that. And
she's human going through the swamp, right? I mean, like, she needs to have she can't be wearing a ball gown going through a swamp, right? I was saying I try not to ignore too many people, set to ignore too many people, but there's one person who's just going on and on about why she needs to be in her ball gown all the time. I'm like, why would she be wearing a ball gown through the swamp? Like, please.
So I don't know, but
excuse me, no, not the swamp, the bayou.
The bayou, yes. Sorry,
right.
But no, and also I have to. The Disney put out a little TikTok on it. The cast member they had who was playing Tiana was like spot on. It was like,
it's great,
did a really good job. So I think that's the type of thing that I do think gets people excited. And I think that'll get them more excited about the ride. They need to show more of these like fun elements related.
Let's put a pause right here because I want to ask you about your opinion on the water tower. I think it looks great, right? I love how there's another little weenie for the ride that's going up. It's showing progress.
Yep.
I think I'm still on track for this ride being available like next spring going into summer. We're not like end of 2024, but it's going to be early 2023.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, they're still targeting both of them being open by the end of 2024, and we know Disneyland's closed later, so Disney World should be at least a few months ahead of that. So yeah, it'd be nice to get a water ride open for the summer. But obviously I need to see it in person. I need to see when it's all done and kind of put together. But overall, I think it's nice. I agree with you. It's a weenie that should draw you down kind of from Liberty Square and Frontierland and see it and that sort of thing. And it's got some Easter eggs in there. It's got the 2 little stars for the lightning bug characters that died, that went up into the heavens and stuff like that. So there's a lot of little things I think for fans of the movie. So I think it's a good addition. I just want to see it all put together. I think if you look at the concept art when it's lit up at night, I think the ride's going to look really cool at night.
I think so too. Now, the one thing I find amusing and definitely not shocked is that people are out there on the internet going, oh, this looks terrible, this definitely doesn't fit. I'm like, have you watched the movie before? Like, there's like callbacks to the movie like throughout this. Like, Tiana wears a tiara in the restaurant. Like, the stars are actually from the movie. They're not just like, oh, let's make a tiara shine on a water tower. No, it's all within character, and it just goes to show that some people that are
it's just whatever they do
soured on it, they haven't watched the movie.
They're complaining about her outfit because it's not princessy enough, and then when they put a tiara on the water tower, they complain because it's princessy. So it's like we
spend too much time online.
That's the takeaway. We need to go touch some grass.
Yes.
The last item is some Epcot updates. There's been a lot of work in the central area of Epcot, some installation of things, specifically some new lighting pylons, and I think they have some of the white ones that are going up have speakers in them as well. And then there's also these brown, kind of look like futuristic trees almost.
Yeah.
That I know in the original concept art there were supposed to be some like interactive tree elements. I don't know if this is replacing those, but it looks like it should provide some shade during the day, and then hopefully they do some lighting things with them at night as well.
I'm just happy that we're finally getting a little bit more progress
Yeah.
in this pit of despair in the middle of
Yeah.
Epcot. So,
And it seems like they've been installing a lot of actual trees as well too. BioReconstruct recently did a flyover, and you could see the whole Journey of Water area was all lit up, like
Yep.
the nighttime lights were going. But you could see a lot of the trees just in the central area as well. The other thing with Journey of Water, you can hear music playing in it when you're walking by, and there's been a lot of footage of like kind of regular cast members and stuff, not construction workers, in there kind of walking around and stuff. So hopefully that's going to be opening sooner rather than later. But
I
we'll
still
see.
think you have a good chance of it being open when you're down.
I keep flip flopping. I'm like, I don't know. Everything takes longer with Disney, blah blah blah. And then I see some footage like that with music playing. I'm like, it's opening next week. It's like no
Yes,
problem.
done.
Yes, it's like so I keep going back and forth. Last little Epcot related things. They're doing some more work for the new nighttime show in the World Showcase Lagoon. They've been putting in new pylons. They had taken out all the old kind of anchor points from that were there going back to Illuminations. They've put in, I guess, new pylons that they're sticking out of the water. I'm assuming they're going to be cut off at some point, and these are going to become the new anchor points for whatever's coming out just for nighttime. But we don't really know. But they're definitely doing some work.
We don't know anything.
I know
big,
Matt
right?
Pato and some other people I'm pointing out. It's like we don't even have a name. We don't have anything. And there's a lot of talk that it was going to be open for October 1st or definitely by the end of the year. And we don't really know that much about it other than that one concept art and that they said there would be an original theme to it. But that's about it.
This is either going to be really good or it's just going to fall flat on its face. And
Yeah.
I think the less leaks that we have, it's more foreboding than excitement on my part. So
the only positive spin I'm trying to give it is I think Disney might be trying to like under promise and over deliver, because with the last couple of things they've been saying this is going to be life changing, blah blah blah, and some things have fallen flat, or maybe technology not working how they said it was going to work and stuff like that. So I think they might be kind of pulling like what Universal sometimes does and says, oh, that's just the new churro stand, and then it turns into a big giant thing. So we'll see. But
we hope.
So that'll do it for the news for the week. Reminder of our social media accounts. We are on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, all at the DBC Pod, and our Discord server. And wanted to welcome new member to the Discord server, Skyliner Kate. So welcome, Skyliner Kate.
And she's a longtime listener that finally said, I'm going to figure out what this Discord thing was. And she jumped head first, and she's been awesome in her first week participating in all the other conversations going. So welcome, Kate, to Discord. We love having you. And if you're any other lurkers out there, get on Discord. It's rather fun. So
yeah, there's been a lot of good contributions, some new trip reports going up, and people got some summer trips, and people are planning things out and asking questions. So yeah.
So you don't know this, Phil, because I forgot to tell you. I set up a new, like when you come onto the Discord for the first time, there's a orientation thing, right? And it brings you to like 4 different places. So I set it up. So now you have to go into general, and it asks you a question like post your favorite park. I think I put, and then it's going to show you where DBC engagement is. It's going to force you to go and navigate to there. You don't have to post anything, but it gets you to click around things and kind of show you around what people were saying. So please don't get discouraged when you have to click some extra buttons when you join the Discord server. We're just trying to help. But if you have any issues or any problems or any questions navigating where things are and forums versus chat rooms versus threads, it kind of gets confusing for the first time in Discord. I promise you it's very easy. So please come on by.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. So first topic of the day, Phil. I picked this one out because I love thinking about discounts. And I'm trying to think to myself, like, I'm hoping for a good discount because, again, we're going to talk more about this in DVC engagement, but you're going to be able to tell that there's a theme to the show, maybe a theme to the show for many months. But the topic of this week is, if bookings remain soft, do we think Disney will start putting out crazy discount packages to increase attendance, right? So I'm not asking what you want, Phil.
Okay.
I'm asking you what you think Disney will do to put out discounts. So let's There's a couple different things I'm going to say. I'm going to ask you, and do you think we're going to see them? And if the answer is yes, we're going to see them, I want you to give me a time frame, like maybe like a quarter or a season or something else like that, right? So currently right now we have offers that range from 15 to 25% hotel discounts, 25 to 35% discounts for AP and local folks. I think there's some 30% discounts for hotels kind of thrown in there, depending on. There's
usually if you have like a Disney Plus or a Disney Visa Chase, you can get somewhere in between there and stuff. But there's plenty of hotel discounts.
Regular hotel,
pretty much anybody. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's still the 4 ticket for each park package, so you're actually dropping the park ticket down to its inflation adjusted pricing, which is about $100 a day, which I think that's what it should be.
Yeah.
Of course, we talk about the bounce backs. So here we go. So if attendance remains soft, Phil, and I don't think we're going to see any more discounts for the summer, but I think there's potential for early fall. So I think the first part where we might see new discounts is sometime in the September, October timeframe, most likely. But you might want to disagree with me on that one. But okay, so we've already announced that dining is free. The dining plan is coming back next year in February or January. I think 9th. I think is the day.
6th. I think if you're checking in the 6th.
There you go. Do we see a free dining offer at all in 2024?
I think so. I think it's going to be for the summer.
So you think it's going to be, because I don't think they did too much free dining in the spring, early of the year anyway, right? It was mostly
usually it was right? Like it would actually used to be trying to prop up fall bookings was when it first started, because fall used to be the slowest, like September.
Swapped, yeah.
And then it kept coming earlier and earlier and into August and then into July and stuff like that. So I think it's going to be kind of those time frames, July, August.
So we would probably get that announcement that it is coming back like around springtime. So yeah. I would think so, right? So keep an eye on that. I agree with you, by the way. I don't think they're going to launch the Disney dining plan and immediately offer it for free in some places, unless they get really desperate. But next one is free Genie Plus for all of your days in your package, kind of like adding Memory Maker or Park Hoppers for your whole ticket package. And I assume they're going to just try and kind of charge you for like maybe an average of like the 2 highest parks or something else like that. Do you think this is coming anytime soon, Phil?
I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with Genie Plus. They talked about having more changes coming in January. It's trying to simplify it and add an element of pre-booking. And if you can pre-book it, that means you have to be able to pre-buy it. Yep. So they're going to have something where they know the price in advance. They haven't mentioned anything like this, although I think there was wasn't there like a UK deal or something where they got Genie Plus included, so they can do it. And I think
we did it last year, right? The technology.
Oh, the pre-buying, but I meant free Genie Plus, like included. I feel like there was some UK deal or something that had that. So
the UK gets all.
I know they get all sorts of special things.
I don't want to talk about them. I'm jealous.
I could see that. I think that might help people that really are missing the quote unquote olden days. So if you tell them like, yeah, dining pans are back, you're going to, it's called Genie Plus now, but it's included. And, I think that could be attractive to people to kind of draw them back. I don't know time frame of it. Maybe it's the same time. Maybe it's the same type of thing, a summer thing, maybe into the fall, maybe earlier.
2024.
Yeah.
See, I
just think 2024 has the potential to be really bad for Disney. So I think.
Well, their 2024 starts in October, right?
That's true. Yeah.
So, I agree with you on the dining plan. I don't think they're going to go right out the door offering it for free unless things are really bad. But I could see them offering Genie Plus for like October, like November, December timeframe type of things. Only because they're already offering good discounts for like Christmas time already.
Yeah,
and that's kind of. I don't know if it's unheard of, but because it is within 6
I feel
months,
like it's unheard of that it came out this early. Like sometimes it feels like last minute, or like, okay, yeah, we need to fill some rooms at a few hotels. We'll throw out some discounts or something. But to have them out this early feels almost unprecedented. You certainly could be right. I think they're going to want to get the parks filled for the holidays and stuff like that. My thinking is that they're just not going to do that until they do the adjustment to how Genie Plus works. So that's why I'm saying nothing until next year.
That's a very good point. Yeah, if they're going to offer it, like you said, they have to pre-buy it. If you're pre-buying it, you're offering other things, and there's no further changes to Genie Plus.
I mean, unless they try to accelerate that or something. But for now, they said that's coming in January. So,
well, we heard rumors that when they moved to this per park price for Genie Plus, there wasn't an IT budget for like, what if you buy Magic Kingdom but you have hoppers and then you want the next park, you buy the next park, then you have to go to customer or guest services,
guest relations,
or guest relations for the not discount, the savings that you would normally get,
the
right? refund. So if there's no IT budget for refunding that right now, I don't think they're going to accelerate the changes to Genie Plus, unfortunately. So I guess you're probably right, unless. I guess the earliest would be, because I can see them offering Genie Plus for free for certain dates right off the bat for starting January.
That would be an interesting one if they started offering Genie Plus free for like really slow weekdays for annual pass holders to try to get pass holders to come in like on those days that are really slow.
Disney's not going to give annual pass holders magnets. Come on. No, that's a good point. We'll see. That would entice them to come into the parks and spend some money if they're light on APs, visit the parks.
Yeah, because I just know so many, especially like, the people who are local that go all the time. It's like hard for them to justify paying for Genie Plus when they're like, if I don't get on a ride, I don't get on a ride. Like I'm here all the time or whatever. Yeah. But if you tell me if I come on Tuesday instead of Sunday and I get it included, maybe I'll come Tuesday, like that type of thing.
I like that. That's actually pretty interesting. I would be interested to see if we actually see some kind of like discounts with a scalpel rather than a sledgehammer, right? Type of stuff. Next idea, Universal does things like this. A lot of almost every other park does it down in Orlando, except for Disney, and it's a buy X and get Y free type offers, right? So there's two different types of this. It's buy 3 tickets, get the 4th free, and it's kind of like a 20% discount on tickets or something else like that, right? Do you think we'll get like a ticket type of offer? It's buy something, get some number free.
I'm trying to remember if Disney's ever done that. I feel like they may have done it, but that's just for Florida residents.
You're right. Yes.
I feel like for the, kind of the people doing their regular week-long trip, you almost kind of get that, like where once you get up to 4, 5, 6, 7, the next days are only like $10 more or something like that.
But the thing is, they raised the prices on that last year, right? They killed that discount because right now the only way you can get your ticket down from $150 to $100 is the 6 or 7. I think it might be. It
used to be you had to get to like the 5th park to kind of like bring it down. Now it's like 6 or 7 days. Yeah,
right.
So maybe they ease that a little bit. I don't know. It'd be interesting if things are really soft and they do something like kids free or something like that with an adult ticket.
No, they would never do that. I mean, they might. God, now, you know what? I wish I had this one on the list because that's a good one. Would they do kids come free like weekdays in? Yeah, it would obviously January, right?
Yeah, and maybe it's more one of those things where it's more embedded in a package or something like that, where it's like, look, you're getting your hotel room midweek, kind of at rack rate or whatever, and as part of that compromise, your kids come free. But they kind of market it like kids come free.
Because now we're getting into what my answer would be for the engagement for next week. That's my next point is like big package deals, right? So this is what Disney loves to do because Disney's never going to reduce the cost of their rack rates for the hotels. They're never going to reduce the rate of their tickets unless a new CEO comes in and he wants to make a major splash for, we're lowering ticket prices. But there's always discounts and deals to bring the actual cost of the tickets down, right? So they're hiding that. And packages are what they really love because they can kind of spread out like hotel costs and ticket costs in different buckets. It makes different hotel operators and park ops people all happy because they're not losing cash on that.
And it works for the marketing. I remember they always have those. I feel like we don't see them anymore, but they had those commercials where it was like the husband comes in. It's usually the wife's on the computer, and she's like, "Look, we can go to Disney for like and he's like $1,600 for the all of us. Like we can do that, like that type of a thing.
Yeah,
where." Obviously, you only got that rate if you went on like one day of the year or whatever, like that type of a thing. But it was still like, they had these package type things where if you had some flexibility, you could get your family there for a more reasonable rate. And I think that's probably what they'll try to pitch again versus just giving free tickets or buy X get Y free tickets.
They used to do like a 4-day vacation, right? You go or 4 days, 4 nights, 5 days, and you get 3 tickets or something. Like it's a big package deal.
Yeah.
You end up saving a couple bucks. And but the thing is, you don't see commercials anymore. Or at least I don't, from what the media that I consume of like Disney vacation commercials, like bring your family to Disney World. You don't see that anymore. Again, I don't watch traditional TV, so I don't see commercials.
I see them occasionally, quick things like YouTube stuff before a video comes on. Usually it's stay close to the magic, and it's like the hotel discount and stuff like that. But it's not the same as they used to be with like the whole like get the family down there type thing.
So I mean, this is how perspectives become warped, because I don't see any Disney commercials, but I see Disney videos like all my not For You page or whatever, the YouTube homepage, like it's all Disney stuff, and I still don't see pop-up commercials.
I mean, that kind of goes back to our conversation last week with the movies. Like maybe Disney needs to completely revamp how they do advertising.
Yes, no one's watching Morning in America, not Morning America,
Good
ABC,
Morning America.
Good Morning America. Thank you. And watching that and getting all their commercials from that point of view. Mike,
I don't know what it is. You got to somehow get the kids excited. I don't know if that's more TikTok or more like, I don't know what it is, but
it's you.
I think it's probably YouTube. Yeah,
it's YouTube Kids, that type of thing. Because it's funny as an aside, but I think my kids were watching traditional YouTube TV, right? It's we got to watch commercials, kids. They're like, oh, this is great. I love commercials. I'm like, what? Because they never see them, right? It's like a little tiny extra video and whatever kind of content. So let's put this in a button here. So free dining, you think next summer? Genie Plus could be early as next year, whenever they roll out the changes. Yeah. Well, at least we'll hear about it. Maybe it's not offered right away. Buy X get Y free, whether it's hotel night stays or tickets or kids stay free, some kind of like you get a bonus something.
Something. But I think that unless it's a Florida resident thing, I think it's part of a larger package. But something like that to bring the ticket price down, because we always talk about that. No matter what you do, even if you stay off property, the buying tickets for a handful of days for a family of 5 is just a big nut to swallow.
Yeah.
So,
not to go back to another conversation about this, but we were talking about the value of a ticket. You've mentioned this before. I think $150 for me to get into the park is good value.
Yep.
It's paying a ticket for an NFL game or a Broadway show or things like that. You've made this argument before. Yep. I agree with you. But my ticket into the park is not $150. It's $750 because I'm bringing my family of 5 into the park. Right.
And you're not just doing one day.
No. So that is the huge cost. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. All right. So off the top. Oh, actually, I'm going to put it this way. Do you think things are trending in the way where Disney has to, not will, has to start offering different type of deals to get people back into the parks and get more?
I think in the near term, especially next year. I think beyond that, we'll see what they announce at Destination D23, if there's going to be some big things to get more people excited for 2025, 2026, whatever. But in the near term, they got to do something to get people excited to book. And right now, people are not excited with how much it costs to book.
And there's nothing in the pipeline.
Yeah.
Epcot's not exciting people. Whatever they announce at Destination D is going to excite people, but that's 4 years from now. Excitement, right? So no, I'm with you.
But if you know there's something you're excited about coming, and then they offer you a discount deal, like, well, why don't you check it out now? Then I think that helps you book that discounted deal.
I'm in. I'm for sure in. All right, let's go on to Our Takes. We mentioned this at the top of the show. Things for first-time guests to ask advice about to Disney World. I don't know if I actually said that in actual English. So I want to know what's an overrated, properly rated, or underrated question you get from first-time visitors to Walt Disney World. So you're at a birthday party for kids. You're at a barbecue. If you're listening to this tomorrow on the 4th of July and you're heading to a barbecue and you're talking to that family that's going to Disney World for the first time in August, they know you or the Disney family are going to start asking you questions, right? And you're not there trying to tell them everything. You're just kind of listening to them, right? So we're going to start this first. And when I say overrated question, and I didn't give you these instructions, but the way I interpreted overrated was a question that you hear all the time from first-time guests, but you don't think is like you don't worry about asking this question because it's not a big deal. And for me, overrated was information about swimming pools or concern about swimming pools. To me, I'm like, every resort has a swimming pool. Go whenever you want. I'm not going to tell you how to tour the parks or when to use it. It's a good idea, but you don't need to worry about pools because they're going to have them. So, like, a lot of people are really concerned about swimming pools, and that never really raises to my topic of like things you should be really concerned about.
Right. That's kind of a taken for granted type thing if you're staying on property for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. What was your overrated one?
So my overrated, maybe I thought about this just a little bit differently, was more of just like people getting worried about stuff and wanting to get into the weeds on it too quick, I think. And that's Genie Plus advice. I think, if you're a first timer and you're trying to figure it out, just understand the basics, understand how to book it. And when you're there, you'll figure it out. Like, we obsess over it and stuff like that. But if you've never been to the parks, it's like, don't worry about getting into like the details. Like either buy it or don't. And like, just go with it and do the best you can.
I mean, we're being hypocritical, Phil, because we were super worried about it. I was there, a year ago, using it for the first time. 6 months ago, back in December, 7 months ago. That is a good overrated one. Though
I was thinking more for like the first time visitors to Disney. Like, there's enough other stuff to worry about. Like, don't get spreadsheets going for Genie Plus and stuff like that. Like, let's get the basics settled.
My only pushback is, do you have people that are first time goers that are super asking deep questions about Genie Plus?
Yeah,
I have not had them.
I have.
You had. Okay,
yeah.
Fair enough. Good experience then. Okay, so properly rated. So what's a good question for first time guests to write? Is this how many days at each park? Right. So that's one of the first things. Yeah, we're gonna go here, here, and here. And you're they kind of say it like as an open-ended question, but they're telling you that we're going to Magic Kingdom this day and Animal Kingdom this day, and they're like looking for your approval as like this is the best way to do it. So I think that is a good question to ask. It's you got to get everybody's different. So some people are like super duper Star Wars fans, so maybe do 2 Hollywood Studios days,
right.
Or like they're all princess girls in their family, so Magic Kingdom twice, right? It's never Animal Kingdom twice, by the way. But like you got to figure out how to do it, when to do it. Do you do Magic Kingdom the first day and the last day? You can kind of offer your advice, that type of thing. But I think those are good questions to ask because now you're thinking about the cadence of your trip. You're not making those decisions on the fly. You already know that you, at least for the rest of this year, you have to make reservations for all those days. And you're already thinking, your general structure for your vacation. When you have a first-time guest thinking about the structure of their trip, they're probably going to have a good time as a first-time guest. So what is yours?
So mine is
comment.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. And that's kind of, I think, what I was getting at even with my Genie Plus. Like, let's get the structure of your trip settled before we get into the weeds on Genie Plus. Mm-hmm. And another element to that, which I think is one of the best first things to think about, is where you plan on staying. So advice on, should you stay off property, on property? If on property, where do you want to stay? And that gets into which parks are you thinking about going to a lot? Do you want to be at a hotel near those parks and that sort of thing? And, sometimes it's people like, oh, I'm just going to stay off property and we'll still be able to take all these midday breaks and stuff like that. And just kind of like helping people set expectations with what the pros and cons of like kind of every option for where you could stay. So I think that's a properly rated because it's important. You need to think about it. But once you do, it kind of sets the structure. Yeah, it's a backbone. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
So my underrated one, I don't know if this actually matches underrated. I kind of twisted my brain, but I wanted to put this in here. Here's an underrated question. So the way I kind of phrase this in my head is if we were all in Discord sitting around thinking about some of the best questions or concerns first-time visitors ask, right? And so we're talking about, is this a good question? Is this a good question? How would you answer this? That type of thing. I think the underrated thing about first-time guests are when they're not asking for any advice. That's when I get worried. I kind of want to put that there. So like if people that are going to Disney World for the first time, whether they're in your close circle of friends, or like, your kids go to have the same soccer team and you see them once a week type of thing, you're just chatting generally, but that's your only interaction you have. And they're not asking any questions about or any advice. Let's say Disney World does come up and you're talking about it, but they're not asking you any questions or any advice for the trip. To me, that's an underrated warning sign that they should be asking more questions. So that's how I was kind of getting at it. It's like, so if you know somebody and they're not asking any questions, then maybe you should ask some questions to them and help them along the way. So
Yeah. Or if they're like, oh, it's just going to a theme park. We've been to theme parks before. It's no big deal.
Gosh.
Like, we'll get tickets when we get there. Don't worry about it. Like things like that.
Yeah.
Like, my underrated is this one's probably a little bit more in the weeds, but it's one that I think is, especially if they're going during the holiday seasons, is thinking about which parks they're going to on which day, because not everyone's aware of, the park, Magic Kingdom closes early when there's a not so scary Halloween party, or
that catches some people off guard. That would be terrible.
Or like some days there's even like just the deluxe extra hours where people are strolling in like, oh wait, why do they get to stay and stuff like, and it's not something that I think you need to spend tons of time on, but at least think about it a little bit about like, well, I'm going to go to Magic Kingdom that day. It's like, well, why? Like, just be aware, like that type of a thing. So I think that might be a little underrated, as people don't think about what else is going on in the calendar that might impact which park they go to which day.
And I think that's important, tying two of your points and one of mine is how many days at each of the parks, where you're staying, and when are you going to each one of those parks.
Yeah. And I think if you get those down,
90% of your planning is
you're going to have a good
point.
trip if you get that settled. Yeah.
Because that makes you aware of more stuff. So if you can figure that down, and that's how I always used to do planning for the first couple of times I was planning my first Disney World trips with my family. It's always, you pick your dates, you pick your hotel, and usually your hotel's picked based on what kind of discount that you're getting and what's offered at that point. But then, okay, we know we're going for 5 days. How are we doing this vacation? Once we finally figured out Magic Kingdom, then this, then the day off, and then blah, 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 then like the rest is just filling in stuff and you're not as stressed. So I think you give any newbies those 3 pieces of advice, figure out those 3 things, where you're staying, when you're going to the parks, and which days you're going to the parks. I think you're on your way to success.
Yep.
All right, on to our top 3. So the impetus for this one, Phil, is I saw a Twitter advertisement. I don't know if it was from Disney or it was from one of the many blogs that I follow that are just showing off merch for Mr. World type of thing. But they were showing off, I think it was like a Peter Pan attraction key.
Yep.
And I don't know how new these things, maybe they've been there forever. I just never seen them, but they started showing up, I think in the last couple of years. So they're not new, but I'm seeing more and more of them when I've been going down. And so that got me to think. He's like, this thing looks pretty cool. I want one. And then I'm like, what am I going to do with this thing? Like, it's just going to sit there collecting dust.
Yeah.
So I would never spend the $20 or however much it costs to get the thing. It's probably more money than that.
Yeah.
So that got me thinking, what souvenirs or things that you could buy? It doesn't have to be a souvenir. It's a thing that you can buy in the parks that you think is really cool, but you'll never buy because you're like, this is pointless. So I'm going to go through my 3, and then you go through your 3, Phil.
Yep.
So the first one is the attraction keys. They come in a nice little box. It looks really cool, but I'm like, what's the point? Is this way? Do I have to get like a wooden peg board to like in my office and just like hang the keys like I'm a old lady with her tchotchkes like hanging on the walls, like the teaspoons or something else like that. But my grandmother had that type of thing. I think they're really cool. I just don't know how to display them and what they actually mean. Like, why does each attraction have a key? I don't get that, but I think they look cool. They look nice, right? They're not plastic. My second one was the infamous or famous, maybe it's infamous, Mickey balloon in a balloon, right? They're like $30 and it's a balloon. It's just like, I really love those. My kids love seeing them. They're like, oh, that looks really cool. Look, there's 300 of them. There's a balloon in a balloon. I'm like, I'm not paying $30 for that, but those are really neat. That's my second one. And the third one is things that this is not a souvenir, but things you can buy. To me, it's Bippity Boppity Boutique. I think it's awesome that girls get to get their hair done up and wear makeup and wear dresses, and I think it's really cool. I enjoy seeing other kids like my niece and nephew get all kind of dressed up in their pirate costumes years ago. And the Bippity Boppity Boutique, we just had neighbors that went down. They're 2 boys and a girl. They're all dressed up and pirates and princesses. It looks amazing fun, and I really like watching the pictures. It's really cute. I will never pay for that. Because then I just picture makeup melting from their faces in the hot sun, and the outfits missing pieces or getting caught on things, or they're getting. I mean, like, it's to me, it's like maybe I think too logistically about these things, but like it's just like I always see the downside of those things, even though it'd be an amazing experience. I'm just not paying for it. So those are my three things that I would never buy. You have similar things, Phil.
I think so. Yeah, I will admit, for a while I struggled with this one because I couldn't really think of too many that I don't buy. Like if I think it's something's cool, I'm gonna get it. But I also like I don't get a lot of those tchotchke type things. I'm like, okay, I know they're like like those keys, or there were other things that came out, and people were like there were queues on Shop Disney because the like demand was, and I was like, I don't get this.
Says the man with 500 tiki mugs in his house.
Well, those you can use those. But what I tried to think of was different things that I know people do collect, and I think it's kind of cool, and I could see why it would be attractive to people to collect them, whether I probably would never do it, but I get it. So the first one I thought of was the pressed pennies or medallions that you can get at the various attractions. I think those are pretty cool. They're not crazy expensive, and it's kind of like a quick thing to remember, like, oh yeah, we did this attraction. You can get like the books to fit them in and collect them and stuff like that. So I thought that's kind of a fun one that's not crazy expensive. I get why people do that.
I'm with you on this one. Every time I see it, I'm like, I would love to collect these because you don't have to display them, but putting them in like a little box somewhere and kind of bring them up every once. Oh, here's the one for Splash Mountain that's no longer there, or this attraction that's no longer there. I love the collectability of that. That's you don't have to display them, but they're nice keepsakes type of thing. But I'm like, I would always buy like one or two for my kids, and then like I should buy more. I'm like, I don't want to pay the money for that, and then I just the dream dies right there of having like 1,000 of these things. But that's a good one.
Similar, although it's much more expensive, and every time when I see one that I like, and then I see how much it is, I'm glad I don't collect these. Which is the pins. Pin collecting is obviously a huge thing among fans. People get really into it, and I've heard stories about how they
do you know who I am?
Do you know who I am when they want to see the pin board? Just leave that one there. But there's a lot of cool ones that come out, and then you see these giant ones that are like $150 and stuff, and
it's crazy.
I don't know, but kind of a similar thing to the press pennies, like, you know, they have different characters that you like connect with, or for various rides that you like, and you know, there's dated ones that you can kind of get one every year, like a lot of people do with ornaments or something. So I get why people get into it and stuff like that. I'm just not into it, and I'm glad, or my wallet's glad I didn't get into them.
I mean, I love the idea of collectibles, right? Like, you know, I like collecting things. I'm OCD that way, but like my wallet doesn't like collecting them, just like you said. It's like because they're not like, you don't go and spend like $2 and get a pin. It's like you go spend $20 and you get a pin, or like you said, $100 and get a pin. Like, I'm not displaying these anywhere. My kids had a whole bunch. We did one year where they had some pins on a lanyard, and we went and got like cheap ones from like eBay, so they have just some to start off, and then we bought a couple real ones at the parks. They just never got into it, and I was grateful that they just never got. And well, COVID happened too, so that kind of washed away a lot of that stuff. So I'm like, you know, I know a lot of people love pins. I'm just glad I'm not in it, because you cannot really collect all of them. It's just like, here's a bunch of things, right?
Yep. And the last one is another collectible type thing. Be more for if my wife was into this. She just doesn't wear a lot of jewelry at all. But the Pandora charms that they have, you know, where you get like a necklace, and then like every trip you get a different charm that you can add to the necklace or the bracelet or something like that. Again, it's just it's just another, I think, fun way to kind of get something that it's either meaningful from that trip, or characters you like, or whatever. And it's not like super gaudy, you know, they're usually fairly subtle, you know, unless you really go up and look at them. And I think they look fairly nice, and you know, they're not cheap, but they're also not like thousands of dollars, you know, that type of thing. So you know, most people I think could afford to get like one each trip or something like that, no problem. So
I know my sister's gotten them for her niece. I don't know if in 2019 if my wife got our daughter one. I know they went in there at Hollywood Studios. I forget what they bought that year. It's probably expensive. I just don't want to know about it. But no, I think they're great ideas. I mean, personally, I'm not wearing Pandora charms, but I know my daughters and my wife would love that. My mother was there, and they buy them and stuff like that. So those are ones I do pay for, but they get use out of them, right? They wear that jewelry throughout the year, so it's just not like it just sits on a shelf somewhere that you just stare at for a while. So I think they're also functional. So I'm probably going to end up paying for these things. I just know it in future trips. All right, I think those are good ones. I would love to hear other people's ideas on what souvenirs and stuff like, because there might be ones like, oh, that's really cool. I do end up wanting to buy that.
Yeah.
I will buy that on my next trip, and we'll go back and forth on that. So maybe there's some cool things out there that most people or some people aren't aware of. Maybe we can open our eyes to other keepsakes that you guys might enjoy out there. So share in Discord, please. Okay, we're gonna wrap up the show with this week's DBC engagement. And the question was off the heels of some of the Genie Plus changes from last week, where all the different parks have different prices. And there's a back and forth about future doom and gloom, how this is going to raise the cost of everything, except as it is right now, it's just cheaper for a lot of people that might end up buying one for like Animal Kingdom or Epcot, or a couple bucks off on the Hollywood Studios one. So we asked, does that change the way you plan Walt Disney World? And I want to show. How about you want to do the community field? Because I put Skyliner Kate. She jumped in, and we want to showcase her.
So we got a few responses. So thanks, and really thoughtful responses too. They didn't just jump in and say like, "Oh yeah, save some money." It's like, so Skyliner Kate, like you mentioned, new joiner jumped in and said, "I don't like Genie Plus because it takes too much time strategizing on the phone and to make it worth it." And I think we both definitely followed that and said, about the changes specifically, it just seems like more money again, especially if you're going to be hopping, you're going to have to get the most expensive one, and that sort of thing. So didn't really see it. If anything, it's a negative just it sounds like for how they do it and that sort of thing. But I mean, it also brings in just different ways to strategize and just making it more complicated day of and stuff like that.
Here's a point, and I really love how Kate brought this up, because I didn't even think about it this way. We talk a lot about the psychology of this change or adding another thing to click on the day of, right? We talked about that last week. Here's another thing. Like, you were now buying something at 7 a.m. And let's say you're going to Magic Kingdom and it's, what was it today? It's like $28 or $29.
Yeah, it's been between 27 and 29 of late.
And now you're like, all right, I got to pay this money. But then you're looking at Animal Kingdom and it's like $10 cheaper or whatever it is. That might get you upset because you're seeing the same product cheaper at another park, and you're like, it might make you feel bad. Like I never realized that the difference in pricing might affect the way you start your day as well. So that might just irritate you too.
Or just if you're doing, say you're planning on doing Animal Kingdom and hopping to Epcot, both of those are priced at $16 or $18, but you have to pay the $29 because you're hopping, even though both of the parks are cheaper parks and that sort of thing. So,
yep.
So Lumpy commented, and he just did not like a full trip report, but just kind of thoughts because he just recently went there, and he had I'm going to kind of summarize what he put, but he was very negative in his feelings towards Genie Plus overall. Felt like you almost had to buy it, and more specifically for the people that didn't buy it, felt like they were getting a very negative experience. We're hearing a lot of stories about how this is happening if a ride goes down. I mean, this always happened under the old system, but it just seems maybe even more extreme now, where a frozen boat comes by and they take one family from the standby line and fill the rest of the boat with Genie Plus. And he said he almost felt guilty when he would pass all those people, because it's like, just because I can afford Genie Plus and maybe those people don't have the money, they've been saving or whatever, or didn't know to get it or whatever, they're having such a negative experience. So now it just maybe incentivizes people to get it at other parks and making it even worse at Animal Kingdom and at Epcot, because now more people are buying it there. So overall, he was pretty negative about this.
I mean, if you're a first time, second time goer and you're getting Genie Plus for the first time, or you're looking at it like, I'm not spending $150 for my family today for it.
Yeah.
And then you're online, you go through your first day, you're waiting online, and you get to like your third big attraction or fourth big attraction for the day. It's got the big 60+ minute wait, and you're seeing these people buzz by. And then you're hot, you're angry, your kids are cranky, and you're like, you know what? We're going to buy it. We're going to get it. But now it's already 1:00. You don't get the true value of the whole thing. And that just puts even an additional sourness to you, because you don't.
Whereas with the old system where it was included, like as long as you knew about it and did something about it, like maybe, if you were offsite, you didn't get as good rides, but you would get some good rides. And like if you're on Space Mountain and you see other people skipping the line because they selected that as one of their rides, you're like, okay, well, I'm not skipping this ride, but I'm skipping Jungle Cruise or whatever it is.
And most people didn't know about refreshing and getting the fourth and fifth and sixth one So no one ever felt angry at the other people. Oh, you used your one for this one. I'm using my one for this one, and everybody's
right. It's just, we've talked about a lot. Once you start attaching dollars to a specific thing, it just changes expectations and stuff like that. TL Madden comment said it won't impact him too much. He kind of sounds like either we'll get it or not, whether we feel it is worth it or not at all. And that he doesn't feel like a lower price at the other parks is going to tempt him, that he's just going to base it on, if I think it's worth it at Magic Kingdom, I'll pay whatever it is. If I don't really think it's worth it at Animal Kingdom, just because it's cheaper, I'm still not going to buy it.
I might be tempted. Like, Epcot doesn't really tempt me unless I really want to get on Remy. To me, like, Genie Plus is basically a lightning lane or individual lightning lane for Remy's, right?
Yep.
That's basically what it amounts to. But for Animal Kingdom, if I want to get like in and out of that park really quick and just get things done, and then just spend the rest of my time there, either like eating or walking the trails or not worrying about rides, because I got mine for that. Genie Plus offers me that in that park, so I have the freedom to explore the park versus like waiting in line longer. So that's the cheaper cost would actually tempt me in Animal Kingdom. Whereas if it was like $20-something, I'm like, absolutely not. But
yep. The only other one I wanted to comment on that I don't think you had in here, she wrote it in a little later, was Mama of Six pointed out how Genie Plus doesn't really affect their family on how they use Genie Plus or not,
right, yep.
But they do use the disability access, the DAS system. Some of their adopted kids aren't able to wait in line, and so they're eligible for DAS. And they said they're really getting negative impacted by how overstated a lot of the rides seem to be, because that's what drives when their return times are. So if an attraction is listed as 50 minutes or an hour and a half or whatever, and even if it's not really that long, that's how long they have to wait. And at least I think they said one or two of their kids really can't wait in even short lines. So it's not like they can go and do a 15-minute wait line because they can't even handle that much. And I think that's another area where people are negatively impacted by having less other stuff to do. There's less streetmosphere around. They don't have, they mentioned they were really looking forward to something like the Play Pavilion coming, where they could just spend time while they were waiting for their DAS and stuff like that. So I think Disney really needs to think about bringing back more of those other stuff to do. And I'm hoping, something like Journey of Water is a step in that direction.
Hopefully a step that doesn't take 10 years to make. We're out there. All right. I thought we were going to end this show early, but we're right on track to end it at our appropriate time. So we're going to talk about next week's DVC engagement that's going up in a couple days. And this has to go with offers. And I think we had a similar discussion to this a couple weeks ago, but I think I want to clarify a couple points. So what kind of historical, quote unquote, historical offer can Walt Disney World provide that would make you drop whatever you're doing and plan a trip ASAP? And I'm talking like, let's say you already have your 2024 trip planned. You're going in March of next year. You're good. That's what you have budgeted for. But this thing pops up and you don't cancel your trip. You just add on another trip because the deal is so good. So what does that look like? So I'm going to ask you, don't just say if I could save $1,000 or 25% off, because that's boring. But you could say, if the trip's going to typically cost me $5,000 to go, I need to only spend, but if they offer it at half the price, that's fine. But tell me how you get to half the price, right? Is it because they discounted tickets? Is it because they discounted the hotel stay? How do you think you get there? We just use our imaginations a little bit. So what is your threshold of a magical like discount that will get you to book that trip? Take out your credit card and like, hey, honey, you want to go to Disney like in 3 weeks? Because we got this crazy offer. What does that look like to you? I already have a couple numbers in my head that I can't wait to talk about. And if you remember a couple times during the show, I kind of alluded to this.
Yeah. And I know you put in here historical, but you put that in quotes. So I think you can have a little bit of creativity, maybe like kind of how we did during our conversation with the kids go free or something like that. I mean, you can't say all people who are named Pete get to go for free or something like that, but like something kind of a little build off what's been done in the past, but add a little bit of creativity.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to be like, I'm going to go back because this happened back in 2004, and it doesn't have to be like factual. Just don't like you said, don't make something up for it, type of thing. So we're going to get creative with that. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. All right, Phil, we have anything left on our plates for today? Did we forget anything?
No, I guess we just didn't really answer our questions to the engagement.
We didn't, right?
So, I mean, I'll just go quick. I mean, I think
I kind of did with Animal Kingdom.
Yeah. So I think I'm kind of the same, that I think it does bring into play bringing it to like Epcot and Animal Kingdom and stuff like that, where in the past, I wasn't planning on getting it for Epcot, but now especially if we decide to sleep in that day and Epcot's only $17 or something like that, maybe we'll pull the trigger, where if it was 28, we probably wouldn't. So I think it just kind of brings in those other parks a little bit more.
I think from a planning perspective, it doesn't change anything. I'm
Correct.
Still going to go
100%. Yeah.
I'm still going to do this on this day, this on this day. I'm not going to the park earlier or later, or I'm not going to affect when I go to the parks because of Genie Plus. Genie Plus doesn't do that. It just maybe allows me to potentially either leave the park early or do other things in the park, but I'm not planning differently because of these changes.
Yep.
Okay, good. I'm glad we remembered, or you remembered. To answer those
but other than that, I
questions.
think we're all good. I think we
excellent.
should end the show and let everyone enjoy their 4th of July.
Yes. Happy 4th of July, everybody. Everybody stay safe out there. Be responsible. Thank you for listening. Make sure you like and subscribe. Leave some comments. Join Discord, please. We always love having new folks.
And I did tweet out the link to it again, because who knows what's happening with Twitter. If in case that falls apart, we still have Discord.
Yes. There's links in all of our YouTube videos. So if for some reason you're an audio only listener, always go onto YouTube, find us, and the links are always there. Or if you can't find us on Twitter, drop a comment on YouTube, and we'll find you. Get in contact with you. That being said, guys, have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Take care, everyone.